listeners. Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbull Podcast. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
And like most of the nation, we are in the midst of a winter storm. However, the show must go on. But first, our sponsor is Southwest Pain Management. Southwest Pain Management takes care of most chronic pain without pain pills. Their goal is to get you back to doing the things you love. They are also the world's leading long COVID experts. Dr. Groisman sees people from all over the world to treat their long COVID. Southwest Pain Management is in Plano. Please go to their website, reliefbeginshere.com. That's reliefbeginshere.com to see all that they do. So in our last episode, we talked about the disastrous, horrendous, awful debate that happened between Chris Hill and Rick Grady. Disastrous for Rick Grady, good for Rick Hill.
What?
Chris Hill. Did I say Chris Grady?
No, you said Rick Grady and Rick Hill.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No. It's Chris Hill and Rick Grady. All right. So in that episode, we were going from memory. And since we recorded that episode, the video of that debate was released by Plano's Citizens Coalition, and if you'd like to watch it, you can go watch it on their YouTube channel. So Ruth and I rewatched the debate, and it was just as bad for Grady as we remembered. Now, there were some things we forgot to mention. One thing I forgot was in the first question or opening statement, Grady mentioned that he worked with Ross Perot, and he learned a lot from him. Now, there's nothing wrong with that statement. If you remember, Ross Perot is a great businessman and philanthropist.
Or if you don't know who that is.
If you don't know who that is, you can go look him up.
Like me, I didn't know who that was because this is before I was born.
Yeah, just rub that right in. Okay. Anywho.
I have to.
So, for Republicans who remember the 1992 presidential election, bringing Ross Perot up, not necessarily a good thing, because, as Ruth was not aware, Ross Perot has the reputation in GOP circles as a presidential spoiler. And his run for office was partly to blame for George H.W. Bush's loss to Bill Clinton. So, not a good idea, probably, to bring him up at a Republican event. Kind of like rubbing salt into the wounds of people. So, Rick's next mistake was with his answer to question number 2. So right out of the gate, he's already on thin ice.
Now wait, we had a little bit of a mix-up here. Are you talking about question number 2 as in, are you counting the introduction as question 1?
Yes, I'm counting the introduction as question 1 because it was an introduction with a question that the moderator asked.
I didn't see it that way, but okay.
Well, he did ask a question. All right. So question number 2 was on unincorporated areas of Collin County and getting those folks emergency services. So these are areas that are not members of cities. They're not part of cities. And so getting them services has been a little bit tricky. Recently, Chris Hill talked about the newly approved emergency special district that was approved by the voters of Collin County for those folks who live in those unincorporated areas, because cities who were giving those folks emergency services had told the Commissioners Court that they, in the future, could not do it anymore. Hence the creation of the emergency special district. And now those folks will pay taxes to the special district, and they will get their fire and their police and their ambulances. So Rick answered the question in the following way, and I have gone back and I have taken clips from the video, and I'm going to play the clip so you can hear Rick Grady in his own words. All right, because I often feel that it's better to hear the person in their own words than for me or somebody else to repeat what was said. So here is Grady on Emergency Services District.
Here's the first thing that I see when I see the Emergency Services District. We saw a great deal of population growing outside of the city limits. We saw that over a long period of time, and we did nothing. That was the problem. Leadership says that you take a look into the future and determine what is going to happen, and you begin to practice those types of things and put those things into place before they happen.
So first of all, he uses the word leadership so many times in all of his answers that we started to keep a counter.
It struck me like I was like we need a leadership counter. It was almost like you could play a drinking game with it.
Well, I said,
how many times throughout this entire debate does he say the word leader or leadership?
Ruth
and I kept count.
If we did do a drinking game, we would not get through this episode because we would be too drunk. So, for his answer to the question, he says, we saw a great deal of population growing outside of the city limits. We saw that over a long period of time, and we did nothing. That was the problem. Leadership says that you take a look into the future and determine what is going to happen. So 2 problems with that statement. Problem 1, that is what happened. The Commissioners Court, they had made deals with the cities. The cities agreed that they would take care of the people who were closest to their cities, but who don't live in their city, for a fee from the Commissioners Court. That was the deal for a very long period of time. The cities came back and said, only recently, we're not going to be able to continue to do this. No service has been stopped. It has been transferred to the newly created EDS. That was voted on. So service is continuing. Second problem with his answer, he didn't do that when he was on council. He didn't look ahead when he was on council, when he was approving almost every single solitary new development that came before him. I don't remember a single time Rick Grady asked the developers, where are you going to get the water, sewer, power for this development? What transportation will the people in your development be using?
Well, actually, off of that, later in another question, or I guess answer, he mentions building housing.
He did. I did not get that clip, but he does mention building housing. Little problem with that. Commissioner's Court doesn't build housing. They don't have zoning controls on the Commissioner's Court. I'm really beginning to wonder if he researched anything on the Commissioner's Court.
Well, I wasn't saying that.
Mm-hmm.
My point was that does he thinking ahead is like, oh, we have to build housing for the people who are coming here, but he doesn't seem to think ahead of that.
Right. He doesn't think we got to build housing. First of all, government shouldn't be in the job of building houses, but we got to build housing, but not going to ask where you're going to get the water from, where you're going to get the sewer, the electricity, the transportation, and all that goes into.
Well, we can worry about all that later. The first thing we need to do is make sure everybody who's coming here has a place to live, obviously.
Yeah. Just forget the question of where we're going to get the cops and the fire departments for all these folks.
That's not as important.
Yeah. You know, I remember when 300 plus people filled the council chamber to oppose the Plano Tomorrow plan that Rick Grady ignored. They went there. They said what they felt would happen in the future if the Plano Tomorrow plan passed. And Rick totally ignored them and voted for it anyway. So, yeah, that's thinking ahead for you, Rick. So the next question was on property taxes. And this is where Rick talks about the homestead rebate.
First, day one, I'm going to double your homeowner's exemption. Your homestead exemption right now is 5%. There are municipalities within Collin County today, that offer a 20% homestead exemption. And the county is only offering 5%, and I'm going to double that day one. That's the first thing. And that will give you direct relief.
And he went on to say that'll give you direct relief. So as we said last week, the judge can't do that. That's still true today. The judge has no power over that. And
maybe we should have had a counter as well of, you can't do that, ding.
That would have been every question.
Still would have been fun.
Little joke there. By the way, speaking of the counter, what are we up to?
What question are we on?
Oh, we are on question, I guess it's 3, property taxes.
So on mine, that would be question 2.
Okay.
Okay, so in the introduction, he said it 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
On question 2,
Mm-hmm.
he said it 3 times. And then this one, he actually said it 0 times. So we're up to just 7.
Oh, okay. We're up to 7 times where he uses the word leadership.
Has it been 5 minutes yet?
I'm not sure. This is where Chris Hill brings up Rick's famous lawnmower comment. Rick really doesn't say anything to that. Next mistake Rick makes is saying that he will bring forward the budget.
There is a difference between myself and Chris. When I bring a budget forward, I bring a budget forward that I'm proud of and that I can support. Because it's my budget. It's no one else's. I'm the leader. It is my budget and I bring it forward. I don't wait for everyone to vote yes on the budget and then vote no. I don't do that. Because it's my It's my responsibility.
It's my responsibility. You know, I think...
And it's his budget. You have to remember, it's his budget.
Yes, it's his budget. I think I'm going to let Chris answer this one himself, because he can do it far better than I can.
Okay, first of all, I want to make sure people understand something I think my opponent does not. The county judge does not bring the budget forward. In small counties in Texas, in small population counties, the county judge is the budget officer by statute. In counties over 250,000 people, you have a budget officer who brings the budget forward. I don't bring the budget. Mr. Grady, despite what he might want to do, he will not bring the budget forward. It is brought forward by the staff.
So, no, Rick, it is not your budget. You don't bring it forward. You don't write it. Just like you didn't bring the budget forward on city council in Plano. Just like you didn't write it.
Yeah, I was very confused for what he was talking about. Now, I'll admit, I didn't know that the judge doesn't bring the budget forward, but I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about his time on council, and I was like, what do you talk about your budget? When has it ever been your budget? And so I was just completely confused.
So what are we up to now on the leadership count?
Okay, so that question he said 5 times. So now 7 plus 5 is 12.
Okay. 12 times so far. So a couple of other things that Rick got wrong. This was on the question on what your priorities are going to be, or top priorities. And Rick said that he wanted to fix Route 380. Well, little tiny itty bitty problem with that. 380 is a federal road. So the only way that we fix it is with the feds. Apparently, Rick didn't know that either. He's batting 1,000 here. And, of course, lastly, the answer that brought this debate to a screeching halt, to a total demise, was Rick's answer to Epic City.
Oh, yeah, the train crash.
Yes, that's when the train came off the rails.
The only ones right now in the city of Plano that are helping people from freezing on the street. The only ones. Now,
You cut that horribly.
I know I cut it horribly. I'm going to fill it in because he rambled. So.
But you didn't even give him a sentence.
Well, that was the mic drop moment. Just give the mic drop moment. So here is the full quote. He said, the East Plano Islamic Center is the only ones right now in the city of Plano that are helping people from freezing on the street. The only ones. She's looking at me. She doesn't like my cuts. I'm sorry, editor.
I should have looked at them before. I regret not looking at them.
Okay. I have to say, we were mistaken. We must make a correction. So, first...
Well, we were going off of memory.
Hold on. We were wrong. He did not say they were the only place in Collin County. He said Plano. Now, the other correction that we must make is that the only ones who prevent people from freezing to death, well, we said there were 2. There's actually 3.
What's the third one?
So, according to the Texas Department of Emergency Management, Plano has 3 warming centers, or 3 places that take you in when it's below freezing. The East Plano Islamic Center is 1. The Salvation Army is the 2nd. And Christ United Methodist Church is the third. So apparently Rick Grady, who was on city council, doesn't know this, but the people in the room did. Because you heard, I think it probably got over the mic, they said no back to him. Like I said, I think our memories blocked some stuff out because it was just worse than we remembered it when we went back and rewatched it. And now, what was the total count for the word leadership, Ruth?
In that one?
In total.
Just total?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So, total count for the entire debate, 14. The reason why I did this was, one, because it was really fun. And two, when somebody repeats something over and over and over again like that, to the point where you cannot, that's one of the main things that you are going to remember, because it was drilled in your head over and over and over again. That word. It kind of like raises a
eyebrow?
Not eyebrow, but like a something's going on. He's relying heavily on it, and it tells me that he's really, really trying to get the message across that he is going to bring leadership to the table, and possibly that he's a better leader than the incumbent. Because remember, he's going against an incumbent. So he's already kind of fighting an uphill battle, because incumbents are very difficult to beat already. Mm-hmm. So he might be trying to prove that he's a better leader and that he's going to bring real leadership to the table, something his opponent has not, which is also why he did the whole, I'm going to be proactive versus reactive. What they did was reactive.
I don't think he succeeded.
No. It might also be why he sounded so aggressive, because he might think that like that's a mark of leadership, probably coming from his military background. Because he sounded so aggressive, which I personally did not like.
He did sound aggressive, and he didn't always sound that way on council. There were times when he used that tone, but most of the time he was pretty mellow on council.
Yeah, so it might have...
Not including the lawnmower comment.
There might have been some strategy to it. I don't think it worked, but there might have been an attempt at a strategy.
Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. I mean...
Not for me, anyway.
I wrote down in the closing statements, when he asks for people's vote, I wrote down fat chance in that room. When you go to these forums or these debates, your job there as a candidate is to get people who are not for you to change their mind. Now, most of the time, you're not going to do that. More importantly, it's to get people who maybe they're on the fence about you, they're undecided, try to get them on your side, win them over. The next thing is to get people who know absolutely nothing about you. This is your first introduction to them, okay? And you want to get people who know nothing about you to your side to say, I really like him. I'm going to vote for him. Oh, he made some good points. I don't know what he did on council, but I know in Plano, but I like what he has to say today. He didn't do any of that. He did what you're not supposed to do. He lost the whole room. I mean, unless you came in there and you did not came in there with a preconceived notion, I don't like Chris Hill. I hate the job he's done on Commissioner's Court. For all I know, there could have been people like that in the room. I'm going there to see who this other guy is. Let me see if he's any better. I don't know if he persuaded those folks. I mean, only if you hate Chris Hill so much this would be a vote against Chris Hill, not a vote for Rick Ridley.
Yeah, you gotta be like, who's the lesser of two evils? You'd have to do that then.
Yeah. And this is a local commissioner's court race. I don't think we have the lesser of two evils in this scenario here. It was, like I said the last time, a disaster. He did what he is not supposed to do. There should be classes when people watch this video. This is what you don't do.
Know your audience. Know the topic. Know what you're talking about and what you're running for.
Well, that's the other thing. If you're going to run, if you want to run for an office, you should be doing what we do with Plano City Council. You should be watching the body in which you want to sit on. Whether you're going to the meetings or watching the meetings online, you should be doing research about what the role of the commissioner's court is, what the role of the judge is. Why do they call the commissioner's court judge a judge? I looked that up, by the way. It's actually in the Texas state constitution, goes all the way back to the 1800s when it was first put in the Constitution of Texas. So it's by statute. And while in our county, because we're so large, the judge acts more like an executive amongst a legislative body in the county. In smaller counties, they're actually judges. They do probate, they do actual cases. So that's why they're called a judge. And see, I didn't know that, but now I know that. Rick Grady should know that. If he didn't look that up, that's another mistake.
And also maybe don't, in your tone, don't answer every question like you're arguing with me. Because you're looking at the audience.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the audience, you're talking to the audience. Don't sound like you're arguing with me and like I already hate you and you're trying to prove me wrong or something.
Yeah, this is not a debate where the two candidates are actually exchanging words with each other. You're talking to the audience, you're answering a question. You don't want to sound like you're a grumpy old man answering the question, or a grumpy old woman.
Well, it wasn't that he was sounding like a grumpy old man. It was more like he was sounding like he was combative, trying to prove you wrong.
When there's really nothing to prove wrong.
Like there was a preconceived argument that I was not aware of.
Yeah. That's it from the horse's mouth. Like I said, you can go back, watch the full debate without the edited clips.
It's not that long.
And also, they did the Commissioner's Court Place 4 between Shelby Williams and Woody Huffines. And they did the HD 70 race. There's 3 candidates in that race. And they also had the person who's running for Commissioner's Court Place 2. He is unopposed, but they still brought him up and they asked him some questions too, even though pretty much he wins by default. So
maybe they had extra time to fill.
Yeah. So on to our next correction. So last week's episode, we talked about a text thread between Julie Homer and a Plano staff member named Andrew. Don't know what Andrew's last name is. So in it, Andrew mentions a man named Stephen. Now, I thought, all right, she's looking all smug here. I thought it was Stephen Levine.
And I told you not to assume that.
Yes, Ruth said, no, it could be a member of the city staff. Well, Ruth was right.
I'm always right.
I wouldn't go that far.
I've just been on a roll lately.
So the Stephen mentioned in the thread was a staff member, not the city councilman. So apparently the way in which they could tell, because there was no last initial, which Stephen it was by the spelling of the first name Stephen. So Levine, he spells his name Steven, while the staff member spells it Stephen. Also, we found out what TML is, because they remember we had the name. They were saying how they were going to a TML function.
Yes, we got somebody to tell us the answer to that.
Yes. Well, that stands for, in this context, Texas Municipal League. Everybody's got to have a group. Everybody's got to have a group. Even the municipalities have to have a group. Next up, the alternative transit plan for Plano. So during the first city council meeting of the new year, staff gave the council an update on their alternative to DART if the voters should vote to leave DART in May. Remember, we're having a referendum election in May, and the question will be, should we leave or stay in DART?
So we got
not exactly how it's worded, but that's the gist of the question.
So we got the update on the
Alternative.
Very important question of what would we have instead?
Yes. And I don't know why they called it an update, because it was pretty much the same thing that they told the council in the last update, which wasn't much. Time is ticking out there, folks. And
so they still have nothing?
Yeah, they have nothing. They're
not really pleading a very good case for why I should vote to not have DART.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have nothing, why should I vote not to not have DART? I'm basically voting have DART or have nothing.
Right.
If you don't present an alternative, we can't vote for it.
Yes, and people are very concerned that we're not going to have an alternative. I mean, he just said, the staff member just said the same thing that he said the last time. Spare, one of the companies, the microtransit companies, has dropped out. That's nothing new. He said that they're still looking at contracting with one of these two companies that are left, and they'll stay in budget. I would hope so. That, again, no, like this is worrying people.
Well, yeah, because clock's ticking, the vote's coming, whether they are ready or not, and if they're not ready, well, then...
Mm-hmm. Now, they could be talking about things behind the scenes, but remember...
Then why are they not telling us?
Well, they're not supposed to be talking to one another, and they can talk to staff, I guess. They could talk to each other during executive session, but at this supposed update, nobody really answered any questions. The only discussion was from, I think, Julie Homer said, we really need for this pilot program to come out before the May election. No kidding. But that was pretty much it. If City Council wants people to vote to leave DART, they better have a great alternative, or the people will just vote to stay in DART. Because it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Well, actually, in this case, it's better to have something than nothing.
Yeah. Like, yes. I mean, they could say, well, don't worry. After the election, we're going to have an alternative.
No, we're not doing that.
Nobody's going to trust that. Get your ducks in a row, Plano. Get your ducks in a row. Or you are going to have a big problem. I have some good news. Stella was adopted.
Yay! We need the applause sound effect.
Okay. So we have a new dog whose name is Thor. Would you like to read Thor?
Yes. So Thor is a friendly boy who is about 2 years of age and is very, very playful with children. He's active when he plays, so may be best in a home without young children. Thor was very excited for his first pups in the park walk. He had a lot of energy as he left the kennel, but settled down quickly. He was very patient while being harnessed in the lobby of the shelter and loaded into the car without issue. Thor rode well in the car and was very relaxed. He walked well on leash and got along well with all the other dogs in the group. Thor exhibited no prey drive while encountering birds and squirrels along the walk. Aw. Such a strong name. Thor.
Well, that is all for us today, folks. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Stay warm out there, and please, while the roads are still icy and snowy because they don't plow, salt, or sand them, that we can tell, stay home. This is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.